Discrimination has been a hot topic for exploration for over a century now, and, in modern times, it isn't executed the best 9 out of 10 times, with the average take of it being the simple racism bad. That doesn't explore how prejudices form or develop, or pinning all the blame on rich white people in one-dimensional demonization. It's for this reason that watching the first 2 seasons of Warrior was a breath of fresh air for me. Note that season 3 isn't available in my country yet, so this video will only concern the first 2, and, obviously, spoilers ahead. For those not aware of this series, or confusing it with some other similarly named ones, Warrior is based on a script pitched by Bruce Lee that was rejected due to it being too similar to Kung Fu, with its finalized version being executively produced by his daughter. It's set in 1870s San Francisco, and covers the gang wars between the rival towns of Chinatown, along with racial conflicts between the Chinese and Irish communities, with some parts being either inspired or allegorical of Bruce Lee's own experiences. Those knowledgeable of him will be aware of Lee's battle against prejudices against Asians within Hollywood and American society during his life, which already made Warrior's exploration of it more rooted in genuine experience, rather than being what those without life experience have been systematically taught what prejudice is. It shows that such attitudes weren't linear across the states, with the episodes taking place outside San Francisco showing that other places were more tolerant of Asians integrating into society or the families of other ethnicities, which adds to the conflict Assam sometimes has of whether or not he wishes to leave the Hopway for a better life. Such also leads into the series' brief yet thorough exploration of black people, little over a decade after slavery was abolished, with their treatment in Georgia being closer to how the Asians are treated in Frisco, as opposed to being treated better outside of it, to the extent of being able to own working residences. The best scene involving this is when 2 black men come into Leary's pub. Though he's critical of what could occur with them entering an Irish pub, he is more sympathetic to them than his anti-Chinese sentiments would have you expect, as he acknowledges their ancestors had little choice in coming to America, and them having earned the dignity he'd show for any white man through their struggles, in what's a very nuanced look at the slave trade. Though gradually being phased out of the curriculum, it's a historical fact that African nations profited by selling those of defeated tribes as slaves in the West, with the transatlantic slave trade being more about class than race, which is relevant to the Irish labourers in San Francisco in how they find their position compared to the political elites. This leads into the next point, as the portrayal of the Irish community is perhaps the most important part of Warrior's portrayal of prejudice succeeding. The rough treatment of the Irish in the US, even into the early 20th century, is an overlooked tale of discrimination in American history that makes Leary's storyline an interesting display of this topic, as the lack of work his community is given in favour of cheaper Chinese labour adds to his hatred towards the Chinese, and his view that they haven't struggled as the Irish have. In other words, the Irish attacking the Chinese was an inevitability created by the callous actions of those above both, some of whom wished to profit from these conflicts. To go back to what I said of rich white people, the series also isn't obtuse enough to pin the blame purely on this class, with the many outliers and the complexity of those within the elites. There's of course Penelope's feelings towards the plight of the Chinese, or her sister being drawn towards Leary and the Irish struggles, either in spite or because of their less extreme struggles. But the most notable case of this is in that of Buckley and his secret past as a Confederate soldier. Even within the upper echelons of society, public perceptions of one's past will demonize those of the losing side, both by the common men still fresh from fighting the Confederacy, and peers wishing to sway public opinion. This adds to the series' theme of discrimination often coming from a lack of understanding towards the other side. Much as the Irish take no heed of the struggles of the Chinese, those of Union states demonize the Confederacy in a history of misinformation that continues to today, with most going by the simplified narrative that the Civil War was all about slavery, and the Confederacy were evil slave owners. For a great video breaking down the nuances of the Civil War, I'd recommend the one done by Leather Apron Club. It's within Buckley's secret and his desire to crush those of the lower class in manufactured chaos due to the downward spiral of his life after the end of the war, that we see how mistreatment through a label attached to a person breeds further mistreatment. On the subject of Chinese labour, this leads into the interesting and unfortunate case of many of the city's Chinese bordering on being a slave caste. In particular, women forced into prostitution, and as a whole being treated as third-class citizens by the majority of the city, with the main conflict of discrimination involving them being less the physical battle against the Irish, and more so the struggle to be seen as more than a resource, which many of the series' characters and real-life equivalents wouldn't live long enough to see a glimpse of. It is most likely Assam will become a symbol of this change as the series enters its final stages, after the grand conflicts Season 2 seemed to promise, with it likely needing at least a fourth season to thoroughly explore this concept, and the character arcs surrounding it. Thank you for watching all of this video. I imagine there may be an overlap with both new and returning viewers between Bruce Lee enthusiasts and Dragon Ball fans, with the latter drawn on many martial arts philosophies Lee championed, in which case you may be interested in my Dragon Ball analyses. It would mean a lot if you were to subscribe, like this video and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.